good morning. Welcome to another Sunday morning Energizer. You know, can you make a decision this morning? A choice. A decision to start now. Now. Just to sit quietly for a few moments and let your thoughts drift. Pick one minor necessary or hang up or prejudice or worry and just make the choice that you're going to throw it out. Because, which old habits, which pretenses, which attitudes, these become far too hard and lumpy to be carried far without discomfort in our lives. Because life is like a backpack that you put on every morning. So to be soft, vulnerable, and open may eventually mean that you don't have to carry extra weight, that you don't have to carry things at all. And I would like you to start that process with me this morning. You may think, when you think about the things that are challenging you, that's impossible. I can't just put this down. I can't just let this go. Because many times the things that we struggle with and the things that challenge us on a daily basis are the things that we use to validate our own worth. And we use these things to validate to ourselves that our life has value. And, I was brought up to believe that you really need to be tough and you really need to be doing things in a difficult and hard way. And you're not allowed to just put things aside. It's sometimes even encouraged to worry. So if we can now just think for a moment, I'm going to now continue my life from here. And I'm going to actually bless myself with the notion that I have no baggage, that my backpack is empty so that I can collect beautiful things that I want to cherish and later on perhaps hold and explore, that I accumulate on my journey of life. Many of our major hang-ups and fixed attitudes arise from our vulnerability because we lack self-worth. We become so, this is not the true sacred vulnerability of the soul. This is almost a vulnerability that we become afraid of, a feeling of being exposed. And, we don't want you to feel the vulnerability of being exposed. We want to throw the things out this morning that makes us feel like that vulnerability when we feel exposed. So what pieces of luggage and old trepidations and things that you believe that is standing in your way and you will not be able to pass them, they block your way forward. Those things, I want you to just look at them and acknowledge them and say, I see you, I hear you, I acknowledge you. Because those are energies that perhaps for some of you, you have invested in for years and they've now become real. It's a subliminal reinforcement, an unconscious decision that you make over and over and over and over. I know I have some, and I lived them this week. I lived them because they made my life feel fraught with obstacles and difficulties, and I had to continuously remind myself that it's really not that bad. It's really not that much of an issue. So remember that we now in the Southern Hemisphere, we're going into a new season, into a new cycle of life. And remember, as you set out on the new cycle of spring, and in the Northern Hemisphere, it's fall, it's autumn. And as you set out on the new cycle of your inner journey today, because yeah, we go on an inner journey. And when you set out on your inner journey, it's not a journey that you make on your own. An inner journey needs synergy. It needs a space like this where you can come and sit and where you can actually be stimulated to make that introspection, to look within yourself. And you set out on a new cycle. There are many fellow travelers, but most exciting, you are allowing the greatest life force, this life source, to welcome you and to support you as you travel on. Because this here that we share is a sacred space. We're coming into the cosmic kitchen where we served with the most delectable and most long lasting soul food. I want to read to you a piece from this book called The Laws of Success, The Secrets of a Successful Life by, I trust I pronounce his name correctly, Rayuo Okawa. Rayuo Okawa. And it says that he has sold over 100 million copies of his books have been sold worldwide. So he is obviously a highly regarded author on the subject. So I want to read. Success is a semantic that I use with great uh, circumspection, because it can also become a very big trap in the way that people regard success and the way that they hold themselves ransom for success when it's applicable. So I would like to read to you Mr. Ryo Okawa's thoughts on success. It does not matter what kind of work one has accomplished or what kind of strength one has built up, or what relationships one has nurtured, if one has not experienced eternity, and it's in inverted commas, if one has not experienced eternity at some point in life, one's thoughts are bound to remain shallow. Therefore, in our discussion this morning on the true meaning of success, it is imperative to take into account the perspective of eternity. And at the start of 2023, I said very, very clearly that perspective is now changing into dimensionality, because we now need to start considering that we live in different dimensions of reality. We live in different dimensions of consciousness. It's not the same thing. When you are at work, you are in a completely different dimension of reality as to when you are at your home. If you are going to a function or a social event, it's a completely different dimension of reality. You can call it perspective, but it is a dimensionality that you need to start recognizing, and you need to start exploring that to your highest, for your highest good and for your highest best, so that it will work for you. So therefore, he says, the true meaning of success is imperative to take into account the perspective of eternity. Even when speaking of work, to be able to claim that you have been truly successful. It is crucial that you sometimes have moments when you experience eternity in your work. No matter how enthusiastic you are about your job, if you experience nothing of eternity, then the success garnered will only be of the shallow variety. You may equate your personal happiness with success, but without the experience of eternal joy, your feeling of success is neither deep nor lasting. It may not be very easy to experience eternity, and the journey into self is a journey where you enter into eternity because self is eternal. And eternity is something that you may catch a glimpse of from time to time, and not something that you can experience if you try. You know, when people say, I'll try, they've already given themselves permission to fail. Because you either say, it's done, yes, I'm in, I'm doing this, or you say, no, I cannot do this. I cannot commit to this because I cannot give my word that this is going to work for me. But to say I'll try is to simply just pacify the situation so that no one feels offended. But when trying is online, there's very hardly ever a result. Try does not get us anywhere. So you cannot experience eternity if you try. It is an ethereal feeling that you experience unexpectedly. It comes to sit with you while applying yourself to the task at hand assiduously, with absolute commitment, willingness, and availability. What is important then is the purpose or the objective of your effort. That's what's important, not the success that you're chasing at the end of it, or the money in the bank, or the you know the fame and the fortune. What is important is the purpose and the objective of your effort, and that is to experience yourself in eternity. That what you do echo in eternity. Let me elaborate on what I mean when I speak of eternity, he says. When I use the word eternity, I mean something very close to the word source, or God, if you like, or the Creator. We are born from and return to the eternal world. That is an absolute. Humans exist physically in this finite world and strive to fulfill their purposes, while at the same time existing spiritually in the infinite world. As a result, it is only natural for us to feel some sort of sorrow and emptiness in our lives. In this finite world, we cannot easily see ourselves living eternally, nor create something that will last for eternity. In such circumstances, what do human beings need to aim for? Let's deviate from the main topic here being success, and consider another concept. Remember that I always teach you that there's many concepts, and the concept gives you you create the context, you give it meaning. The meaning determines your conduct, the way that you will behave, and your conduct will give you the construct, the thing that you have built, the result. So let's deviate from the main topic and consider another concept. This concept is similar to eternity and it's called immortality. It is the idea that we never die. Since the beginning of time, people have wished for immortality and sought in any way possible to achieve it. It has been one of the most fundamental human desires, finding expression in massive structures, vast monuments, incredible. You cannot even credit it. It's incredible achievements, in phenomenal accomplishments in academic fields and so forth. This immortality is the desire of a physical life conformed by space and time. And to leap out of it, it's in a borrowed prison that we hold ourselves into, to think of this physical world and its obstacles and its structures, that we can actually move into a distant world. People who aim for eternity, but they cannot attain it. So now they put all their efforts into attaining immortality instead. An excellent example of this is prosperity in relation to business. Business is an expression of the human desire for immortality in that many people hope that their company will not die, that it will exist forever. And for those of you who joined a bit later, let me just remind you that I'm reading from The Laws of Success by Ryoko Okawa, and I'm sharing his insights on its success and how it's related to the context of eternity. So the human desire for immortality, in that many people hope that their company will not die and that it will exist forever. They believe that this continuity represents the development of the company, and that in this way, humanity often replaces the concept of eternity with that of immortality, searching for ways to ensure that humanity will never die. However, it is substantially more important for us to experience eternity in our quest for true success. The eternal is a world beyond the reach of most humanity. It's a fact. Because we live in a very material world. And most people now, I heard some very interesting statistics the other day of the percentage of people on this earth now that absolutely do not subscribe to anything beyond the physical senses and beyond the physical material world. It is staggering. So the eternal is a world beyond the reach of most humanity. That is to say that it surpasses human knowledge. That is why experiencing eternity has infinite value. The experience of eternity has infinite value that is irreplaceable by anything else. So that success is within our grasp when we are experiencing eternity. So far, we are canvassing a range of topics regarding this concept called success. But he says, I can conclude what true success means to me. Dr. Ryuho Okawa. 100 million copies of his books are sold. Success is eternal improvement. Success is eternal progress. Success is eternal enthusiasm. Success is eternal courage. Success is eternal effort. Success is eternal value. This is how I would like to define the word success too. Because it is an eternal, sustained determination to remember what you have given your word for. And if you have given your word to be the caretaker, to be the provider, to be the one who's going to make sure it happens in whatever role you choose to take on in your life, then you must remember this. It is eternal improvement. It is eternal progress. It is eternal enthusiasm. It is internal courage. It is internal effort. It is internal value. It's not going to get switched on and off. It's eternal. It's ever present. It never sleeps. It is always online. You cannot give yourself permission to say, well, I don't feel like it. It's eternal. That is if you want to hold that energy which we as humans relate to success, then that is, according to this man, is what is needed and what is required of you in order to make it happen. Now I'm going to read to you his story about what is success. He says, let me tell you a story that always comes to mind when I think of success. I'm reading it verbatim. In a country far, far away, there was a village. And one day a poor traveler arrived there and asked, are there any good jobs in this village? Jobs that will make me successful. I mean, if there are, please tell me. The stranger walked through the village, posing this question to everyone he met. But the villagers were puzzled by his question. What is the success you are talking about? They asked the stranger. What is a good job? We don't understand you. Every morning when the sun rises, we wake up and go to our fields. We plow, we water, we fertilize, we grow our crops, and when the sun goes down, we return home, eat our dinner, enjoy our time with our families, and go to bed. We have always lived this way. We have never paused to consider what success is or what kind of job will bring success. Please tell us what these are. To each one of them, the stranger replied, I need to switch on the sun. Hold on a sec. There's the sun. I was reminded that I didn't switch on the sun this morning behind me. So each one of them, the stranger replied, success is something you have that other people see and feel envious of. It's what you have when people around you look at you and say, oh, he's done a great job. The villagers put their heads together and discussed this answer for some time. When they had reached a consensus, they told him, we are sorry, but the kind of success you are looking for does not exist here. We have talked it over and it seems that what you want can be found in the town of Successville. But it's a long way from here. You will have to travel beyond those mountains to reach it. This was the advice they gave the traveler, and so he left the settlement and headed towards the mountains. Indeed, it was a difficult journey. The travelers struggled across the steep slopes and difficult terrain. Wild dogs barked at him on the way and would worry him at night. And during the day, he suffered from the heat and after sunset from the cold, and at all times from terrible hunger. Nevertheless, he plodded on. Many mountains, many streams he crossed, till finally he came to the town that the villagers had mentioned. Sounds to me like our journey through life, actually, if I think about it. And what a town it was! Modern, magnificent, the very picture of success. The weary traveller jumped with joy, so sure that he was of finding his success in this town. As soon as he entered the town, he went up to the townsman and asked him to be taken to the mayor. The mayor radiated an aura of prosperity. He was a plump, smooth-bearded man with an impeccable outfit. His clothes and signs of wealth were all about him. He asked the traveller to be seated and considered him for a while. Then he said, "This town is called Successful, and it's open only to people who are successful. People who have not managed to achieve success are not allowed in. From the look of you, I would say that you have no money. Your clothes are ragged and you appear exhausted. I'm afraid that I cannot allow a person like you to enter this town." Aghast, the poor traveller replied, Mr. Mayor, I've come to this town to become successful. Surely it's quite irrelevant whether or not I have already achieved success. All that matters is that I've become successful here." The mayor glared at the traveller, replying, "I see. In that case, tell me, how do you plan to achieve this success? You do not have a proper set of clothes. You clearly have not eaten well for some time, and you do not look like you have a place to sleep. And as you have no money and no sponsor, how do you propose to go about it here?" Did you hear that? Sponsor. The traveller remained silent as the mayor continued. "I know that you have travelled over the mountains to get to Successful, so you must have passed through a village before you came here. The people there all live in perfect contentment. Is that not so? Were you not able to learn anything from them? What did you think when you came to that village?" The traveller answered, "It's true that the people of that village all appeared happy, but they seemed to be quite indifferent to success. So I assumed that there could be no success there, and that is why I crossed the mountains to come here. Please, please let me join you." "Let me tell you," the mayor replied, "successful people do not welcome people who bring with them unhappiness. Successful people only want to meet those they can admire, people who have achieved great success on their own. They do not want friends who will make their life poorer. You have made a great mistake if you had wanted to become a member of this community. It was important that you first achieved riches in the village that you passed through on your way here. If you had been able to earn a large salary, dressed yourself in smart clothes, become healthy, and looked every bit a success when you arrived here, then you would have been more than happy. We would have been more than happy and even eager to welcome you into our lives." However, the mayor continued, "you want to achieve success overnight? You have not prepared to make the effort to expect it of you as a human being. Because there's certain things that are expected of us as human beings on this planet. No one escapes it. No one is exempt. That's the way it works here. To think you could achieve success this way is like thinking you can climb that high mountain in a day. You have to build your life up one day at a time. And it's not only when you have achieved happiness through this that you can aim for higher prizes. That is how life is, and you must understand this. At present, I'm afraid there is no place for you in this town. And with this, the traveller was escorted back to the city limits. This story bears a lesson that is worth repeating. The inhabitants of Successful only welcome people who are successful. Those who are unsuccessful are not wanted. And I trust that you will remember this. The moral of the story is success doesn't happen overnight. It takes years and years of hard work and commitment. What did he say earlier? Eternal. It feels like it's never going to end. It's eternal. It's eternal improvement, eternal progress, eternal enthusiasm, eternal courage, eternal effort, eternal value. But you cannot suspend all your responsibilities in the meantime while you busy working on success. You need to meet your commitments. You need to be there and to take care of what you have agreed yourself, what you've included yourself into. You know, I live a very secluded life. I live like a recluse because I only take care of myself and my two dogs. That's all I can commit to. But I take care of myself well. I cannot expect handouts or I must work for what I enjoy. That's the rule of this earth. If you haven't worked for it, you are not entitled to it. So first, set realistic objectives to achieve what for you is success. And success is not something that you want that other people must look up at you and admire you, and that you have, I don't know what this dude has, 32 million followers on YouTube. You know, all these YouTube billionaires. You know, that you have 32 billion people million people that needs to know what you have to say. You need to be able to be that in infinity, eternally, in here. You need to respect yourself for what you deliver in this world, for what you represent, for what you do, and for whom you trust and whom you give your trust to. Because when I was preparing this yesterday, all that I could think about is what has happened to our world, and that now I would go as far as to say as 80% of circumstances and things that we meet are based on some sort of scam. Some sort of scam to scam you out of your money with great promises. They make great promises, and you'll never ever think that this person is not true. But once they've got your money, you never see them again. And then there's long stories. Long stories. That's not success. That's not how you achieve success. Strive hard to achieve. That's what it's about. Achievement. When you achieve, you are in charge. Chief is in the word achievement. You are in charge. You can then say how things will work. But first you need to achieve. You need to get to that place where you know you are now entitled, and you create and develop success on a larger scale. If you are unable to achieve happiness in your immediate surroundings, in scrubbing the toilets, in sweeping the floor, in being on your hands and knees in the castle kitchen, scrubbing the floor. If you cannot achieve happiness in your immediate surroundings, you are no different from the traveler in the story. Do not just sit around all day without really exerting yourself, applying yourself at work, at what you're busy with. Do not simply dream of becoming the company president one day, the one that's going to sit at the ocean and put your feet in the surf every day. That's not what this world is about. And that you just suddenly gonna strike it rich. All these get rich quick programs these days that people fall for and lose all their money. There is no such thing. The inhabitants of successful will never let you into their midst. And he writes here at the end, this is his last sentence, and I hope that you will always bear this in mind. I had no inclination on reading this for you this morning. That's all I could tell you. This found me when I already finished my notes last night. And I thought, okay, someone needs to hear this. I'll include it. So I trust that whoever's here this morning, we're a nice small group. I don't think that this will have, because of the YouTube channel, I think people now give themselves permission not to be present. And that's really okay, but it's not just about this place. It's about the ability to be present to something that you've committed to that serves your life. That's all it is. It's not about this space and me, but if you cannot bring commitment to a simple situation like listening to me for an hour on a Sunday morning, you're going to find it very hard to touch onto things and to connect with things that will give you the gateway, the doorway to eternity, because it's a threshold that you must cross within yourself here. And that's what I devote myself to. I devote myself to creating and to offer spaces, circumstances, there's no time and space, but to offer something to your presence that you can touch on that so that you can know it. So this morning I want to touch on the word new beginnings. It is new moon now, so let's look at new beginnings. So nature herself teaches us to let go of the old and to embrace the new continuously. Our bodies are already doing it, even though we are unaware of it, and our current state of consciousness does not allow us to be in touch with the subliminal and the sacred processes that is continuously happening, not only in our bodies, but also in our psyche. I just marvel at the phenomenal ability of my body to heal, because my dog scratched me the other day when we were playing, and it was quite deep scratches because I just cut her nails the day before, so her nails were very sharp, and she scratched me, and I was looking at it this morning and I thought, wow, it's completely healed, and it's just amazing how healing takes place in this. But I don't have to think about it. There's something that's doing it for me. So our bodies are already doing it, even though we are unaware of it with our current state of consciousness. So I want us to bring about this revival, and I started touching on it at the start when I said, bring about this revival, this awakening within our consciousness, to set ourselves the intent of how we are stepping into the season of new life and into a warmth of being. And even if you are in the Northern Hemisphere, to step into this new season of letting go, because in fall, in autumn, the leaves are dropping, and it's a beautiful time to review your life, to review your year, and to see what you've accumulated that you can let go of. Just like the trees show us just how the leaves are falling. I must say, I wouldn't mind swapping places with you to go into fall, because there are people in this world that travel from hemisphere to hemisphere to stay in summertime. I would travel from hemisphere to hemisphere to stay in the winter time. Because I prefer the cold weather at any time to this heat, because when it's hot, one doesn't know what to do with oneself. But at least when I'm cold, I can add another layer. So we set for ourselves the intent on how we are stepping into a new season of our life. And you can choose to make it a new season of your life, irrespective of the cycles of the earth. So you can really call this new season of your life my connectedness with eternity. And that you open up the option inside of you for that vastness, that openness, that vastness that no human semantic or word or expression can even encapsulate. Like the warmth of the summer sun, like the new growth of spring, like the leaves gently coming down to the earth to sustain and once again become food for our Mother Earth. That the growth itself returns to become food. Like, what seeds do I hold within me? And what is my intent for this new season? You know, the seeds of greatness. If we suppress our feelings at the time of a problem, because that's what we've learned to do, we suppress our feelings at the time of a problem. Then the imprint of the emotion, of the energy in motion is held in the cells of our body. Because it becomes, when we suppress, look what happens. We suppress. I used to have those little, no, I can't touch them now. We used to have those little cookie shapes, that I used to illustrate. But if we suppress our feelings at the time of a problem, which we normally do because the intensity of the feelings becomes too much, we suppress our feelings at the time of a problem, then the imprint of the suppressed emotion is held in the cells of our body. Each one of the cells receives that imprint. Not one is exempt. Because it's energy in motion. It goes instantly everywhere. There's now scientific proof for that. The memory then lies dormant until it's triggered, just like a seed. The memory lies dormant until it's triggered. And this can sometimes be lifetimes later. But the memory lies dormant until it's triggered. And any obsessive, compulsive, addictive behavior is a way of keeping feelings, the feelings we make wrong, at bay. That becomes the obsessive compulsive behavior because we believe there's a feeling here that's wrong, and then we become obsessive to hide it, to stop it, to push it down, to suppress our feelings. Then that imprint now goes to all our cells and it triggers. Because when it's triggered, it triggers. And any obsessive, compulsive, or addictive behavior is a way of keeping these feelings that we make so wrong, at bay. Instead of just acknowledging them and saying, seeing them for what they are, because we need to be in the moment. So whether it's a repetitive thought or an action, we just need to take our minds off the underlying deep need that professes and lies to us by making us believe that it's keeping us safe. I'm going to say that to you again because you need to really get this. Whether it's a repetitive thought or an action, we just taking our minds off the underlying deep need, and we profess to be keeping ourselves safe. And most of us protect ourselves in this way of feeling underlying despair, panic, aloneness, unworthiness, just the meaninglessness of life by some ritual behavior. And it's an obsessive, it becomes an obsessive thing. It's a repetitive thought or action. And a repetitive thought or action is a habit. We say, yeah, now this, and one of those that we all suffer from is we promise things so easily because we want to care. And we just commit our promise and say, now I'm going to provide this and I'm going to do this for you and I'm going to take care of that and you don't have to worry and this is what's going to happen and this is in the process. But there's no ground to say that because nothing is assured yet. It's all in the air. And we start with repetitive thought or action. We start reassuring ourselves of things that is not so. That is, we start relying on what is not. And that is what's happening with people with money. They rely on what is not with debt because they use money that they don't have. They give away money that they don't have. And that is what scam is all about. Scam is making you believe that you're going to get something wonderful in return and that you've scored so much out of it. You're going to really feel like, oh, like this guy wanted to feel successful. I'm just going to walk in here and I'm going to have all of this that these people have and it's going to be all mine. Same. And you protect yourself from feelings of underlying despair and panic and aloneness and unworthiness and the meaningless of life by some ritual behavior. Some people spend, they go shopping and they buy things that they don't have any need for, that they don't even want. But it's a rebellious act. It's a rebellious act. They don't bother to make any effort to generate that money that they're spending even. They're spending it with no regard for where they're going to get it to repay it. That's what's happening in our world with everything, with property, with holidays, with homes. It's, even to please a parent. Workaholics wants to do more and more and more and more and more. And then when some of us look at workaholics, we say we never want to be like that, and then we just don't work at all. No. Then you also create a rageaholic. Those addicted to anger, and they're sustained by fear that they elicit in those around them. Because an angry person is not a person that you look forward to being with. You're afraid of them. Because you don't know what's going to trigger them and what's going to make them explode, even though it's not something that you've done. But very often we ourselves become rageaholics. We just don't show it. It's uncontested resentment. And we show the world, look how angry I'm not. Look how angry not I am. Huh? But you're seething with rage. But it becomes hidden. It becomes hidden. And you yourself won't even allow yourself to feel it. It's underlying. It's uncontested. You see how few people are here this morning to be able to look at what's going on within them. Because these are the things that stop us from knowing the eternal within ourselves. Because if you look at how much rage, pure rage, is prevalent on our planet everywhere. Wars, rage, road rage, I mean, I'm not even talking about South Africa. South Africa must be number one in all of it. But the rage is used to cover up feelings of powerlessness. Because it's a sense of powerlessness. The fear and the behavior elicits, this fear that this behavior elicits gives them a vicarious feeling of power, because it's the only way they can reach a glimpse, it's a small fraction of what eternity really means. Because if you go to the most primal of energy, it feels like rage, but it's not. It's primal. It's everything, not just an aspect of. The fear that the behavior elicits, the fear that this behavior of rage elicits, is a vicarious feeling of power that is not sustainable. It's not eternal. It's not source energy. The rage serves to keep them separate, which then reinforces their fundamental life operating principle, the frightened, unloving feeling they hold onto as the fundamental operating principle. It's frightened, it's unloved, it's unappreciated, all of the this and the uns that you can find in the Oxford, which lies at the core of their consciousness. That then becomes the axis around which the wheel of life turns. Please do not underestimate the power of obsessional thinking. I am at the moment very much a victim of obsessional thinking that has been introduced to me because I'm not like that. And that is the world wants you continuously to become obsessed in your thinking. Don't do that. The obsessed thinking stops you from connecting with eternity, because there's no obsessions in eternity. Everything is there. There's no time, there's no space, there's no measurement. You don't have to be obsessed. That's why I asked you today to look at what you can put down today, that you can just say, this stays, it stays behind. You can unpack it from the rucksack called our life, because we all carry things with us. My handbag weighs a ton because I can stay anywhere at any time for a whole week with what I carry with me in my handbag. So don't underestimate the power of obsessional thoughts. They destroy you. We are often dependent on these people who create in our space and to make us feel needed, to make us feel provided for, to make us feel cared for. It's only when you've lived a life where you've done it for yourself completely, like in Successful, where you've been completely self-sufficient, that you have not asked anything of anyone to maintain your life and to live your life. No handouts, no please help, call me's, no, none of that. You've done it on your own. Then you have a right to have someone do it for you. Then you have a right that life will do it for you, that you will be taken care of without having to move a finger. But you cannot enter Successful until you have shown life that you are fully and completely self-sufficient, and that you are willing to work to meet your commitments and to be sacred with your word. Because if you are not, don't expect to be allowed as a member of Successful. While we are focusing our energies externally, while we are focusing out there and what out there must give us and what out there must deliver for us. We focus on our partner, on our family, on our spiritual leader, our boss, our whoever. But that person must give me what I cannot give myself. No, that is not how it works here. And when you fall into a place where something else must give you what you cannot give yourself, then you are in trouble, because then you can be scammed. That's where scammers get a foothold, because they catch people who cannot provide for themselves. The other person or your partner, just so that we do not need to look at our own feelings and behavior. Mostly, that's why people need a partner, so that they can look at the other and blame, so we don't need to look at our own feelings and behavior and what we do. And that's why I always say, look at what you do. Addictive behavior is often driven by the expectations of those near us, because a person who has an addiction is expected to be addicted by everyone around them. So if you have certain addictions, I have a food addiction. I don't make any qualms about it. I'm addicted to carbohydrates. And I've been since my mother taught me to be, since I was a baby. So I was conditioned to have that addiction since I was born. It's not a justification. It's what's real. But my addiction to food is something that people now expect of me. My mother expected it of me. She said to me, you'll be so big one day you won't be able to enter through a doorway unless you turn sideways or that you squeeze yourself through. So some of us do it by drinking, by eating, by smoking, by drug taking, even compulsive behaviors, gambling, talking. Some people just talk, blaming, overspending, sex, driving too fast. We can also be obsessed with jealousy, with anger, with guilt, or just with a person. I really do think that there's someone who's completely obsessed with me in the way that they enter my space and my home and my and in my IT and in my phones. It's not something that I'm imagining. I'm not, I see that this obsessiveness in people, and what their motivation is, I don't know. But it's a very, very real disease that we suffer with as humans. And, they're now starting to call, obsessive behavior in children, but it's much bigger than that. Workaholics are socially acceptable, but they're no different from an alcoholic or someone who suffers from bulimia or anorexia, because workaholics is also not the answer. You become a workaholic because you overextend yourself and you constantly overcommit in terms of what you can deliver. That's what a workaholic is someone who continuously overextend themselves, and they continuously be things to all people, and people abuse that. But all are destructive and have been devised to keep the vulnerability, to shut down the vulnerability, to keep you from feeling pain. And people will take medication not to feel pain. I'm not talking about physical having a physical problem. I have a very sore shoulder at the moment, so yes, I do take medication for pain. But, it's extremely uncomfortable, and I do all my own work. So, that's not the pain I'm talking about. People take medication for the pain that they feel in here, because they don't think that they are able. I said to someone yesterday, I don't think that I'm able to be slim again. I don't hold it as an option for myself, because it just feels so totally out of my reach. It's a simple thing, but I have an obsession with looking like I do now. I have an obsession with with feeling unsupported, with, I have a broken car. I now don't know how I'm going to get my car to be fixed. And I make everything so obsessive in my head about all the things that is wrong, that I need to handle, that's going to befall me, especially because I'm old and I'm alone. But it's an obsession in me to do that. And I need to see that every day, because it's not something that I can just dismiss. It's something that I'm speaking over my life. Every single one of my cells, says this wonderful Dr. Mr. Okawa. Every one of my cells are imprinting that. Success is not this thing that we arrive at. What happens to your life after? What happens to all the obsessions that you drag with you into what you deem to be your success? And then, why don't you spend some time to explore and to go within and to look at the things that connects you to the source energy? No river can run without its source. What is the source of a tree? Its roots. What is the source of a root? The seed. What is the source of the seed? The planter. And so it continues. Everything has a source. Ad infinitum. Into eternity. These behaviors, these defenses, these, archetypes, what you want to call them, they stop you. They stop you from being divine. They stop you from being divine, washing toilets, doing the things that you deem is below you. It needs to be done. You have a commitment on the table. You need to be the provider. You need to be self-sufficient. You need to be able to take care of your world and everyone that you put in it. That is how it works here. And if you do not do that, you will not receive the blessings of life to enter successful. You'll be sent back to the village where they work, they toil the fields, they plant the seeds, they do the hard work, they sit at night, they're tired because they earned their bread in the sweat of their brow. And they are okay with it. It's not about being happy. What is freedom? What is freedom? Where and how do I find a place or a space to experience this thing I call freedom? There's a man by the name of Slavoj Zizek, and I'm sure I'm not pronouncing his name properly, but Slavoj Zizek is a world-renowned cultural philosopher. And he said there will be no return to normality after COVID. And Mr. Slavoj Zizek looks like a Viking. He's this bearded, huge man, but phenomenal in his teaching, in his philosophies. There will be no return to normality after COVID. We are entering a post-human era. And we'll have to invent a new way of life. And for those who don't get this message, that we are entering a post-human era and will now have to invent a new way of life, which means that each individual needs to be self-sufficient and need to be able to be raised, taught, shown to be self-sufficient at the youngest age. Because otherwise you will not be allowed in successful, and you will not be allowed to come into a space where you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. You first have to have fruits to enjoy. That's my story for today. I ran a little bit over 11 o'clock. So I'm so grateful that you came to sit with me. I honestly, this is such a sacred space with me. And I always think that when I was at home, if I had 9 people on a Sunday morning in my meditation room, it was full. It was so wonderful. I could accommodate up to 20, but 9 people was fantastic. So to have 9 people here this morning, wonderful. Thank you so much. And may your life be blessed by the words of Mr. Rayo, sorry, Mr. Okawa. I'll just say Mr. Okawa and The Laws of Success. What a wonderful little book that I came across in my journey, and that it was shown to me last night when I prepared for this. Have a wonderful lunch and enjoy your life. It's a new life, Mr. Zizek tells us.